Hello, I'm Mike Gottfried. Welcome to our YouTube channel.
Hello, welcome back to Team Focus USA. Today, we'll be hearing a story from Coach Mike Gottfried, founder of Team Focus. And that story's topic is
God sometimes will send people into your life to mentor you, or to be an advocate for you, or to be a friend. Your job is to recognize who those people are. Now, the enemy will send people into your life too. You have to recognize those people also. Don't hang with them. And I think that's important. I've seen, as I go back in my life, my father died when I was 11 years old. Right away, a large man, tall in stature and well-liked guy. He was the coach in our town, Merle Hudson. He took his place. He couldn't replace my dad, but he could. A substitute is better than nobody. But if he hit me on the back and said, "You're going to be all right," that lasted me for months. Then I go to college. Earl Bentley is sent into my life. He's the coach. And Dr. J.K. Smith and his wife, Patty Ray, they're people in the community that kind of adopted me. So he sent, all through my life, I've seen people come into my life and really help me. And so that's my story today. And there's appointed times, Brian, appointed times where the Lord is going to do something. And he's going to send somebody in your life to help, or help you, or he's going to send you to help somebody. So I've seen this all my life. I'm going to tell you a couple stories, one right now. Mike McGee was a guy that I followed for years. He played in the 50s, I believe, and he played for Duke. And he was the best lineman ever to play at Duke, and they gave him the Outland Trophy, which is like the Heisman Trophy for the lineman, offensive player. And I didn't know much about Mike McGee, but I followed him in football, and then he became the head coach of Duke, East Carolina. He was a good coach. Well, in 1982, we were having a good time at Murray State, and I was the head coach at Murray State, and we won the championship the year before, the first time in 48 years, which was a goal of mine when I took the job. Now Mike McGee is trying to talk me into coming to Cincinnati as a head coach. I was an assistant there before, and I loved Cincinnati. I loved the university. And so Mike McGee came down and he said, "You're one of five," so I didn't pay much attention to the other four. I just answered his questions and he left. And eventually he came back and offered me the job. The reason I'm telling you this is for two years I was head football coach at the University of Cincinnati. Mike McGee was my AD. Now, I left Murray State and I left a lot of good players, good team. And we had won a lot of big games. We were in the playoffs and everything was going well. But I chose to go to Cincinnati. I'm not sure why, but I chose to go to Cincinnati. Mike McGee had a lot to do with it. So when I left the University of Cincinnati for the University of Kansas, I had to tell Mike McGee I was leaving. I actually cried, Brian, because he was so much a part of, I was a part of his family, he was a part of ours. He wasn't an athletic director, he wasn't a boss, he was a friend. He was a guy that God put in my life. So I leave for Kansas, tears, not knowing if I made the right decision or not. But Kansas was good. I had a great athletic director there, Monty Johnson. So I went to do spring practice and recruiting. So Kansas, we took July off. So I'm driving across country from Kansas to Ohio, and we stopped in to see Mike McGee. And Mike McGee at his house, he said, "Mike, why don't you stay all night with us?" I had Mickey, my wife, and Mindy and Marcy, 4 of us, and he had a lot of kids, and Ginger, his wife, we were great friends. So he said, "We're going out to Kings Island tonight." That's an amusement park on Route 71 in Cincinnati. And I said, "Okay, we'll do that." And Mickey was all for it. So now we get in the car, we drive out, and all these points, little points are important. We drove out to the amusement park, we walk in, we take our leisurely time, we get our passes, we pay the bill, and we go on rides. And we're getting ready to go on a roller coaster ride. So the boys, my 2 girls, and Mike McGee and I are in line. Now, it probably took 3 minutes for us to get on that ride. And so we were talking, and Mike McGee said, "Mike, by any chance, do you know the football coach at University of Southern California?" I said, "Yes, very well, Ted Toner." And I said, "I know his wife." He said, "By any chance, would you have his number?" I said, "I wouldn't." I said, "But Mickey would." And he said, "You sure?" I said, "Yeah, she follows up on everything. She's really sharp. And so I'll check with her when we get off this ride." He said, "Because the athletic director job is open at USC, and I want to get in it if I can." So now 2 minutes ride for 45 seconds, get off, walk real slow back to where Mickey's at. I asked Mickey, I said, "Mickey, do you have, by any chance, Ted Toner and his wife's number?" She said, "I may." And so she gets in that bag and she comes out with something like about that size. And she opens it, she said, "Yeah, here's the number." I said, "Unbelievable that you have that number at this time." I said, "Would you write it down for you?" She wrote it down. Before cell phones, I walked to the payphone. I got to walk maybe a half mile to the payphone. I hit the number, ringing, and the lady answers, his wife. And I said, "How you doing?" She said, "I'm doing good, Mike." "And how you doing?" I said, "Everything's good." I said, "Is Ted there?" She said, "He's just backing out the car to go to hire a new AD." I said, "I need to talk to him. Can you stop him?" She said, "I'll try." So she puts the phone down, and I can hear it running, open the door, yelling, "Ted, Ted, Ted." And she caught him. So she came back, she's out of breath. She said, "Mike, I got him." She said, "He'll be right in, but he doesn't have much time. He's meeting with Pat Hayden and OJ, and they're considering hiring this AD tonight, a lady that was in her school." And he said, "So he's got to get moving." I said, "Fine, I won't take long." So he came, he said, "Mike, how you doing?" He said, "I'm really in a hurry. I got to go to," I said, "Ted, here's what I want to tell you. I have an athletic director for you that would be a great choice." I said, "He's a football guy. hated to leave him. When I left Cincinnati, he's the best guy. He's always up, and he always wants to help you, always tries to figure this out. Remember, God sends people in your lives. Now, I met Ted Toner playing tennis down at American football coaches. We'd always get together in Dallas, and we'd play tennis. He was bouncing tennis balls off my head and everything. He was a really good player. So he said, Mike, where are you going to be at 3 in the morning? I said, I'm going to be at Mike McGee's house. Here's the number. Please call me. I said, but you can't get a better guy than this guy. And he said, okay, I got to go. So at 3:30 in the morning, I'm sleeping at Mike McGee's house, and the phone rings, and Mike McGee comes. He said, it's for you. I said, I know who it is. So I went out, and Ted Toner said, Mike, I hate to call you this late. He said, but we just got done with the meeting. You tell Mike McGee we're going to contact him, and in 2 weeks or a month, we're going to meet him in Chicago and interview him for the job. So I felt great. And I told Mike, I said, Mike, it's great. So the next day we got up, all hugged. I go to visit my mom and Mickey's mom and dad in Crestline, Ohio. The next thing I know, I'm in Dallas Cowboys training camp in Thousand Oaks, California. I'm sitting with Tex Ram, legendary GM, Tom Landry, legendary coach, and Gil Brandt, who's the greatest. And we're watching TV, and they're talking about their Dallas Cowboys. And I forgot about what I did. God sends people, and you got to recognize them. And all of a sudden, I'm watching TV. I'm trying to stay out of those guys' way, because they're talking about the team. And all of a sudden, I see Mike McGee on TV. Now I forget where I'm even at. I'm in California. So I'm saying, what is Mike McGee in California for? Because I lost track of football season starting. All of a sudden, they're presenting him as the new athletic director at Southern Cal. So just think back, Brian. All those things I said, a minute late, 2 minutes late, I don't get him. He doesn't end up at Southern Cal, although I do believe God has a purpose and plan for everybody. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future. I believe if I wouldn't have accepted that role, God would have found somebody else and still got him there, because he was supposed to be there. And but those that recognizing people that enemy sends, recognizing people God sends, don't miss them, because if you miss them, you're missing an opportunity. And I've thought way back, I always loved older people. And I always loved listening to their stories. But when God sends somebody into your life, don't miss it. Take and figure it out and pray and ask the Holy Spirit, is this somebody that can help me? We met. Darius and Aaron and all of us met at a certain time. We were supposed to meet. We were supposed to be here today. Before the world was even created, they knew we were going to be sitting here right now talking about God, recognizing God's people he sends into our life. Any questions?
Well, have you ever recognized someone who was the wrong person?
Oh, yeah. I've seen them. But I think sometimes, because you want to make every relationship work, some are not workable. So you got to figure that out fast, and you got to figure out who sent them. God sent them, or did the enemy send them? Or are they just coming by? And so that's what you have to really know. And you have to have a feel for it. That's called a discernment, to know what's in their heart. So we're done.
Well, first off, I want to thank Coach Mike, and then I want to thank the audience for tuning in as well. And I think we've all learned a very important lesson from this story today, and that is the importance of discernment and recognizing who God sends into your life, whether they are sent by the enemy or whether or not they're sent by God Himself. And we need to learn to recognize those people as soon as they come into our lives. My name's Brian Fong. I'm 16 years old, and I'm a member of Team Focus. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, God has a plan for your life. Thanks again for tuning in. To learn more, visit www.teamfocususa.org. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great content. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook.